First contact and deception. The massive void-borne vessel emerged from hyperspace with silent elegance, its obsidian hull absorbing the light from Earth's sun rather than reflecting it. 6 smaller ships flanked the flagship as they positioned themselves in high orbit around the blue planet. Inside the command deck of the Imperial Fist, Grand Admiral Karzov observed the viewscreen with practiced indifference. "Another primitive world," she remarked, her violet eyes narrowing as she studied the planet's features. Preliminary scans. Lieutenant Therax approached with a data tablet. "Technologically developing, Admiral. Nuclear capabilities. Early space exploration, but nothing beyond their own system. Rich in resources, particularly rare metals and biological diversity." "Perfect," Karza said, allowing herself a slight smile. "Begin the standard approach. Send Ambassador Therax with the diplomatic contingent. Offer them our protection." The lieutenant nodded, understanding the euphemism. The Voidborn Empire had expanded across 3 galactic sectors using the same methodology. Approach with diplomacy, assess weaknesses, then harvest whatever they needed before moving on. Some worlds became puppet states, others were stripped bare. All served the glory of the Empire. "And Lieutenant," Karza added as Therax turned to leave, "ensure the planetary assessment team is thorough. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with before we commit." Within hours of the aliens' arrival, Earth's communication systems were flooded with a message in every major language. The translation was flawless, the tone measured and calm, expressing peaceful intentions and requesting a diplomatic meeting with Earth's leaders. Around the world, humans reacted with a mixture of awe, fear, and cautious hope. In Geneva, at the United Earth Council headquarters, Secretary General Maya Chen watched the replay of the alien transmission for the 5th time. Her weathered face remained impassive, but her mind raced through implications and possibilities. "What do we know?" she asked the assembled emergency committee. General William Hayes, head of the newly formed Earth Defense Initiative, cleared his throat. 7 vessels, advanced propulsion technology that doesn't match any of our theoretical models. Their energy signatures are off the charts. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done so already. Dr. Elias Reyes, chief scientist of the Global Research Consortium, leaned forward. "Their technology is clearly centuries beyond ours. The perfect translation into 48 different Earth languages within moments of arrival suggests they've been studying us for some time." Maya nodded, taking this in. "Opinions on their intentions?" "You don't send 7 warships on a purely diplomatic mission," Hayes stated flatly. "But you don't announce yourself to a planet you intend to simply destroy," countered Ambassador Ling from China. "They want something." Maya stood, her decision made. "We meet with them. We listen. We reveal nothing of our suspicions, and we prepare for all possibilities." She turned to Hayes. "Activate Protocol Omega." Quietly. 3 days later, in a specially constructed meeting hall in Geneva, Ambassador Therax of the Voidborn Empire stood before Earth's collected leaders. Humanoid but distinctly alien, with shimmering copper skin and eyes that seemed to shift color in different lighting, Therax projected an aura of sophisticated benevolence. "The Voidborn Empire extends greetings to the people of Earth," he began, his voice melodious and calming. "We have watched your civilization's development with great interest. Your species shows remarkable potential despite your technological limitations." Maya Chen sat at the center of the human delegation, her expression carefully neutral. "Earth welcomes the opportunity for peaceful exchange. We are curious about your empire and what brings you to our world." Therax smiled. "Direct. Good. We appreciate efficiency." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the table, showing hundreds of star systems. "The Voidborn Empire spans 3 sectors of this galaxy. We bring order, stability, and protection to developing worlds like yours." "Protection from what?" General Hayes asked, his military training evident in his posture. "The universe is vast, and not always kind," Therax replied smoothly. Many species expand through conquest rather than cooperation. The Voidborn offer an alternative. Join our collective, accept our guidance, and benefit from our technology and protection. For the next 2 hours, Therax outlined what he called a mutually beneficial agreement. The terms seemed generous on the surface: advanced technology, medical knowledge, defense against unnamed threats. In exchange, Earth would provide reasonable access to its resources and accept Voidborn advisors in key governmental positions. When the meeting concluded, Maya spoke privately with her inner circle. "It's an occupation disguised as an alliance," Hayes said immediately. Maya nodded. "The question is, what happens if we decline their generous offer?" "I doubt they've traveled light years to accept rejection," Dr. Reyes noted dryly. "We need time," Maya decided. "Tell them we must consult with all Earth nations, that our governmental structure requires consensus. Ask for details that will necessitate clarification. Buy us weeks, if possible." When informed of Earth's need for time to consider, Ambassador Therax showed a flicker of annoyance before his diplomatic mask returned. "Of course, the Empire grants Earth 30 days for deliberation. We will remain in orbit to answer questions and demonstrate our technological gifts as a show of good faith." As the first week passed, small delegations of Voidborn visited Earth, bringing technological demonstrations and medical devices as goodwill gestures. Each gift was carefully managed by Dr. Rice's team, isolated in secure facilities for analysis. Meanwhile, beneath the Rocky Mountains, Operation Phoenix accelerated. Initiated 3 years earlier after the detection of anomalous signals from deep space, the program had been developing theoretical defenses against potential extraterrestrial threats. Now, with actual alien technology to study, their work took on desperate urgency. On day 12, Dr. Reyes made a breakthrough. Working around the clock in the secure lab, he summoned Maya and Hayes for an emergency briefing. Their shield technology, he explained, dark circles under his eyes betraying his exhaustion, operates on quantum principles similar to theories our physicists have explored. But they've taken a fundamentally different approach. He displayed complex equations on the screen. The Voidborn prioritized efficiency over stability. Their shields are incredibly powerful, but they have a vulnerability, a specific frequency pattern that could disrupt their entire energy matrix. "Can we exploit this?" Hayes asked. "Theoretically, yes, but we need more data to confirm and develop countermeasures." Maya made a decision. "Then we get that data. General, activate Starfall Protocol." 4 days later, a small Voidborn shuttle landed at a designated site in Nevada for another goodwill demonstration. While the diplomatic team engaged with Earth representatives, Commander Sarah Jackson led a 6-person team of Special Forces operatives in a high-risk infiltration of the vessel. Using stealth technology developed from studying Voidborn sensors, they accessed the shuttle's data core and extracted critical information before withdrawing undetected. Above Earth, Grand Admiral Karza received a secure transmission from Ambassador Therax. "The humans continue to delay, Admiral." They ask questions about resource quotas, administrative structures, technological exchanges, all obvious stalling tactics. "Are they preparing militarily?" Karza asked. "Not that we've detected. Their military remains at normal readiness levels. Our scouts report no unusual activity at their defense installations." Karza considered this. "They're hiding something. No species accepts potential subjugation without resistance unless they believe they have an advantage." She tapped her console. "Accelerate the timeline. Position the Harvester fleet at the edge of their system. We'll begin operations immediately after the deadline, with or without their cooperation." Undetected by Earth's conventional sensors, 20 more Voidborn vessels emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their massive forms eclipsing distant Neptune as they prepared for the coming harvest. In the secure laboratory, Dr. Rice's team worked feverishly with the stolen data. The information confirmed his theory and provided critical specifications for Voidborn shield frequencies. We can disrupt their shields, he told Maya and Hayes, but we need to develop a delivery system and manufacture enough units to make a difference. How long? Hayes demanded. 3 weeks minimum for global deployment. Maya's expression darkened. We may not have 3 weeks. The Voidborn are growing impatient. As if confirming her fears, Ambassador Therax requested an urgent meeting the following day. His previously pleasant demeanor had hardened to cold efficiency. The Empire has generously provided time for consideration, but we detect continuous delays rather than genuine deliberation, he stated. The Grand Admiral has therefore amended our offer. Earth has 10 days to accept our protection agreement. After that time, we will be forced to implement protective measures with or without your cooperation. The threat hung in the air, unspoken but unmistakable. Maya kept her composure. Ambassador Therax, I assure you we are working diligently toward a decision. Perhaps if you could provide more specific details about the resource access you require. Enough delays, Therax interrupted, his shifting eyes fixing on a solid crimson. 10 days, Secretary General. The Empire's patience is not infinite. As the Voidborn delegation departed, Hayes turned to Maya. We're out of time. Then we make time, she replied, her voice steel. Activate all Phoenix sites, full production, around the clock, and prepare the Artemis Protocol. Artemis hasn't been tested, Hayes warned. It's a desperate measure. We're approaching desperate times, General. Maya looked out the window at the distant shapes of Voidborn ships visible in the daytime sky. They're not here for peaceful exchange. They're here to take what they want, and we need to be ready when they try. As Earth's deadline approached, the remaining Voidborn fleet moved into attack position, their massive forms now clearly visible from Earth's surface, dark shadows against the night sky that blotted out the stars. Preparations and revelation. Dr. Sophia Dias had never imagined she would spend the potential last days of human civilization inside a bunker beneath Argentina's Andes Mountains. As one of Earth's leading quantum physicists, she had been recruited to Operation Phoenix 3 years ago, when mysterious signals from deep space triggered contingency protocols worldwide. Now, as she studied the alien shield configurations on her screen, she fought to keep her hands steady. The modulation is unlike anything in our theoretical models, she muttered to her colleague, Dr. Quaim Kosi. They've unified quantum fields in ways we only speculated were possible. Quaim nodded, his eyes never leaving his own calculations, but their efficiency comes at a cost. These resonance patterns. He highlighted a sequence of energy fluctuations. They create micro-instabilities. Exploitable instabilities, Sophia confirmed, allowing herself a small smile of triumph. If we can generate a counter-frequency at precisely these intervals. Their conversation was interrupted as Commander Sarah Jackson entered the lab, still wearing the tactical gear from her latest mission. Her face was etched with exhaustion, but her eyes burned with intensity. Tell me you have something, she said without preamble. We've lost contact with our infiltration team on the orbital platform. Sophia straightened. We do. The data you recovered confirmed our theory and provided the exact specifications we needed. The Voidborn shields can be disrupted, maybe even collapsed entirely, with the right frequency modulation. How soon can you weaponize it? The prototype is ready for testing, Quaim said. But global deployment is another matter. We need at least 2 weeks to manufacture sufficient units. Sarah's expression darkened. We have 8 days before their ultimatum expires, and I don't believe they'll even wait that long. High above Earth, Grand Admiral Karza stood on the observation deck of the Imperial Fist, watching as the Harvester fleet moved into position. 27 ships now surrounded the blue planet, each specialized for different aspects of resource extraction. Some would strip the rare metals from the crust, others would collect biological specimens and genetic material, while the rest would ensure the native population remained controlled during the process. Admiral, her second-in-command approached, the humans continue their dilatory tactics. Ambassador Therax reports they're requesting extensions and clarifications. Karza didn't turn from the viewport. They suspect our true intentions. No matter. The harvesters are positioned, and our ground forces are prepared. Have we detected any meaningful defensive preparations? Minor military movements, but nothing that poses a threat to our technology. Their most advanced weapons couldn't penetrate even our scout ship shields. Karza nodded slowly. Complacency has been the downfall of many commanders. Sub-Commander Vex. Increased surveillance. I want to know what they're hiding. On Earth, in a secure conference room deep beneath Geneva, Secretary General Maya Chen addressed the Emergency Council via holographic projection. Representatives from every major nation listened as she outlined what they now knew about the Voidborn. Thanks to Commander Jackson's team and the data they've recovered, we now understand what we're facing. Maya said gravely, the Voidborn are not diplomats or allies. They are harvesters. They've done this to at least 17 other civilizations across their expansion zone. She displayed images extracted from the Voidborn database, planets before and after Voidborn protection. The contrast was shocking. Vibrant worlds reduced to stripped, barren landscapes. In some cases, indigenous populations remained as slave labor or experimental subjects. They assess worlds for resources, approach with false diplomacy, then harvest whatever they need before moving on, she continued. Some worlds become puppet states. Others are stripped bare. All serve their empire. General Hayes took over the briefing. We've confirmed their technological advantage is significant but not insurmountable. Dr. Rice and his team have identified a vulnerability in their shield technology that we can exploit. How confident are we in this assessment? Asked the representative from India. Confident enough to bet humanity's future on it, Hayes replied bluntly. We have no alternative. Conventional weapons will be useless against their technology. Maya stepped forward again. We've activated all Phoenix sites worldwide. Production of the disruptor technology is underway, but we won't have full deployment before their deadline expires. Then what do? Demanded several voices simultaneously. We implement Artemis Protocol, Maya said, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words. A high-risk strategy to buy us the time we need. As the council erupted in questions, Maya raised her hand for silence. Artemis involves a direct approach to the Voidborn with a counter-proposal. While their attention is focused on negotiations, we complete our preparations. It's dangerous, but it gives us our best chance. The next day, Maya Chen requested a meeting with Ambassador Therax aboard the Imperial Fist, a highly unusual move that immediately caught Grand Admiral Karza's attention. She wishes to come here, Karza asked, suspicion evident in her tone. Why not continue groundside negotiations? Ambassador Therax's holographic image shimmered slightly. She claims to have a counter-proposal that must be delivered in person as a sign of Earth's commitment to reaching an agreement. Karza considered this. It could be an intelligence-gathering attempt, or perhaps they've realized resistance is futile and wish to negotiate surrender terms. She smiled coldly. Either way, it's interesting. Allow it, but with maximum security protocols in place. 24 hours later, Maya Chen and a small delegation that included Dr. Elias Reyes boarded a Voidborn shuttle. Each member carried hidden quantum resonance scanners disguised as ceremonial jewelry, their true purpose to gather final data on Voidborn shipboard shield configurations. As they docked with the massive flagship, Maya whispered to Reyes, "Remember, we need just 6 hours. Keep them talking, keep them interested." The delegation was escorted through corridors of gleaming obsidian metal to a conference room, where Ambassador Therax waited with several senior Voidborn officers. Grand Admiral Karza sat at the head of the table, her violet eyes assessing each human with calculated precision. Secretary General Chen, Karza said, her voice carrying an artificial warmth. This is an unexpected pleasure. Ambassador Therax tells me you have a proposal to discuss. Maya bowed slightly. Grand Admiral, thank you for receiving us. Earth has carefully considered your protection agreement and wishes to suggest modifications that would benefit both our civilizations. For the next several hours, Maya led the Voidborn through a meticulously crafted counterproposal. She offered limited resource access in specific regions, cooperation on technological exchanges, and phased integration into the Voidborn administrative structure, all carefully designed to seem reasonable while protecting Earth's core interests. Throughout the discussion, Dr. Rice and the other delegation members surreptitiously gathered critical shield data with their hidden scanners. Meanwhile, on Earth, Operation Phoenix entered its final phase. In secure facilities on 6 continents, the disruptor technology rolled off production lines. Military units worldwide received specialized training in its deployment. And in high orbit, seemingly inactive satellites quietly repositioned themselves into a global defense grid. Back on the Imperial Fist, Grand Admiral Karza studied Maya with growing suspicion. "Your proposal has merit, Secretary General, but requires significant adjustment to meet Empire standards. However, I sense you're still attempting to delay the inevitable." Maya met her gaze without flinching. "Not delay, Admiral. Adapt. Earth wishes to join the Voidborn Collective under terms that preserve our unique attributes while serving your interests." Karza's patience finally expired. Enough games. She rose to her full height, towering over the seated humans. "The Empire does not negotiate with developing worlds. We dictate terms. Your planet has valuable resources we require. Your people will either serve the Empire or be removed. Those are the only options." Maya stood as well, her dignity undiminished by the height difference. "Then there's nothing more to discuss. Admiral, Earth rejects your terms and will defend itself against aggression." Karza laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Defend? With what? Your primitive nuclear weapons? Your chemical propellants and projectiles?" She gestured to a view screen showing Earth. "Even now, our harvester fleet moves into final position. Within hours, the extraction begins. Your defiance is meaningless." "Perhaps," Maya said calmly, "or perhaps you've underestimated humanity." Karza signaled her guards. "Return them to Earth. They should witness what happens to worlds that defy the Empire." As the human delegation was escorted back to the shuttle, Karza turned to Therax. "Begin the harvest immediately. No more delays." The shuttle returned to Earth, landing at the Geneva spaceport where General Hayes waited anxiously. As Maya disembarked, he pulled her aside. "Did you get what we needed?" Maya nodded, handing him a data crystal. "Complete shield configurations for all vessel classes, and we confirmed our suspicions. They're not interested in alliance, only exploitation." Hayes's communication device chimed. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened. "The Voidborn fleet is moving. All ships are positioning for what appears to be a coordinated attack. How long until Phoenix is fully operational?" Maya asked as they hurried toward awaiting transport. 4 hours minimum. We've accelerated production, but global deployment isn't complete." Maya's expression remained determined. "Then we initiate Hephaestus Protocol. Use what we have, where we have it." Above the planet, the massive Voidborn harvester ships began their descent into the atmosphere, their forms casting enormous shadows over major cities worldwide. Smaller vessels deployed around strategic military installations. On view screens across the planet, Grand Admiral Karza's face appeared. "People of Earth," she announced, all pretense of diplomacy gone, "your leaders have rejected the Empire's generous protection. Therefore, we will proceed with resource extraction as required. Resistance will result in significant population reduction. Compliance will be rewarded with survival." In civilian centers, panic erupted. Military bases worldwide went to maximum alert, though most commanders understood the futility of conventional weapons against the alien vessels. But deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in the heart of Operation Phoenix's command center, Maya Chen gave a single order that would determine humanity's fate. "Activate the disruptors. All available units. Worldwide deployment. Maximum power. Humanity's stand and victory." Grand Admiral Carzo watched with satisfaction as the Harvester fleet descended toward Earth's surface. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Standard Voidborn procedure for integrating a valuable but primitive world. Her bridge crew monitored the deployment with practiced efficiency, having performed similar operations dozens of times before. All extraction vessels report optimal positioning. Sub-Commander Vex announced. Ground teams standing by for deployment. Excellent, Karza replied. Begin with the primary resource centers. North American continent first, then Asian landmass. The atmospheric entry of 27 massive ships created spectacular light shows across Earth's skies. To human observers, it appeared as though falling stars were descending upon major cities, beautiful but terrifying harbingers of subjugation. In London, Paris, Beijing, New York, and dozens of other metropolitan centers, people looked upward in dread as enormous shadows darkened the midday sun. Military forces worldwide scrambled interceptors and activated missile defense systems, despite knowing their weapons would likely be ineffective. Aboard the Imperial Fist, Karza frowned as alerts suddenly flashed across multiple command screens. "What's happening?" she demanded. Vex worked frantically at his console. "Unknown energy signatures activating worldwide, Admiral. They appear to be targeting our shield frequencies." "Impossible," Karza snapped. "Their technology isn't capable of." Her words were cut short as the first disruption wave hit the Voidborn fleet. Across Earth's skies, the advancing Harvester ships suddenly shuddered, their sleek hulls rippling with unexpected energy cascades. Shield systems flickered, propulsion units sputtered, and weapons platforms went offline. In the Phoenix Command Center, Dr. Elias Reyes watched the sensor feeds with cautious hope. "It's working," he breathed. "The disruptors are penetrating their shields." General Hayes nodded grimly. "But we don't have full coverage yet. We can't hit all of them simultaneously." On the main tactical display, red icons representing Voidborn vessels flickered as disruptor beams from ground installations, and hastily deployed orbital platforms targeted them with precisely modulated quantum frequencies. "Concentrate fire on their command vessels," Maya ordered. "If we can disrupt their command structure, it may buy us time to complete the global grid deployment." High above North America, 3 Harvester ships suddenly lost altitude, their anti-gravity systems compromised by the disruption fields. Emergency protocols kicked in, stabilizing their descent, but forcing them to abort their planned extraction operations. On the Imperial Fist, chaos erupted as systems failed unpredictably across the fleet. "How are they doing this?" Karza raged, watching as her carefully orchestrated invasion faltered. "Their technology shouldn't be capable of affecting our shields." "Unknown, Admiral," Vex replied, his composure slipping. "But the effect appears to be expanding. We're detecting more energy sources activating globally." Karza made a rapid decision. "All vessels, adjust shield harmonics. Rotate frequencies on a randomized pattern. Deploy countermeasures." The Voidborn fleet responded quickly, their advanced systems adapting to the unexpected attack. Shield configurations shifted, temporarily neutralizing the human disruptor's effectiveness. In the Phoenix Command Center, alarms blared as sensors detected the change. "They're adapting," Reyes reported urgently. "Shifting shield frequencies faster than we can target them." Aves turned to the communication officer. "Status of orbital platform Artemis. Online and awaiting deployment orders, sir." Hayes looked to Maya, who nodded her authorization. "Deploy Artemis. Full spectrum." In high orbit, a seemingly ordinary communications satellite suddenly transformed. Panels unfolding to reveal a sophisticated array of quantum modulators, technology developed from the Voidborn's own designs, but modified with human innovation. As it activated, it released a cascading pulse of energy that swept across near-Earth space. Unlike the ground-based disruptors targeting specific vessels, Artemis projected a field that affected all Voidborn technology within its range, creating quantum interference patterns that destabilized their shield harmonics regardless of frequency adjustments. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the Voidborn fleet, shields collapsed entirely, leaving their vessels vulnerable. Secondary systems failed as power grids overloaded. All Phoenix units, this is control, Hayes announced through the global command network. Conventional weapons now effective. Engage all targets. Across Earth, military forces that had been standing by launched coordinated attacks. Fighter jets scrambled, missile batteries fired, and orbital defense platforms activated. What would have been futile moments before now became devastatingly effective as projectiles and energy weapons struck the unshielded alien vessels. 3 harvester ships over Asia suffered critical hits and veered off course, their hulls breached and internal systems compromised. Near Europe, another began an uncontrolled descent toward the Atlantic Ocean, trailing debris and venting atmosphere. On the Imperial Fist, Admiral Karza watched in disbelief as her invincible fleet suddenly became vulnerable to primitive human weapons. "Impossible," she whispered, then regained her composure. "All vessels, emergency withdrawal. Regroup at secondary coordinates." She turned to Vex. How did they develop this technology so quickly? How did they know our shield vulnerabilities? Before Vex could answer, another alert sounded. This one from the flagship's own security systems. "Admiral, we're detecting unauthorized access to Deck 7. Security teams report weapons fire." While the Voidborn fleet struggled against Earth's unexpected defenses, Colonel Elena Ramirez led a daring assault team in a mission that seemed impossible hours before. Using the confusion of the space battle as cover, 3 stealth shuttles, products of reverse-engineered Voidborn technology, had docked with the Imperial Fist at maintenance ports. 30 elite soldiers, each equipped with prototype quantum disruptors and combat exoskeletons, breached the massive flagship's hull and fought their way toward the command deck. Team Alpha, secure the engineering section, Ramirez ordered through her tactical comm, as she led Team Bravo through the obsidian corridors. Team Charlie, target their communications hub. Remember, we need their database intact. The Voidborn security forces, though technologically superior, were unprepared for close-quarters combat against determined human attackers with technology capable of neutralizing their advantages. The battle through the flagship's levels was brutal, but decisive as the assault teams advanced methodically toward their objectives. In the Phoenix Command Center, Maya received the update from Hayes. "Ramirez has breached the flagship. Boarding action proceeding." Maya nodded, her expression grim but resolute. "Prepare the broadcast. As soon as they secure the command deck, we go live to all frequencies." Outside, the tide of battle had turned dramatically. With their shields compromised and their coordination disrupted, the once invincible Voidborn fleet found itself outmaneuvered by Earth's combined forces. 7 harvester ships had already been disabled or destroyed, while others attempted to retreat to higher orbits where the Artemis field was weaker. On the Imperial Fist's command deck, Grand Admiral Karza organized a desperate defense as alarms indicated the human boarding party was approaching. "Seal all access points," she ordered. "Activate internal security protocols. I want those humans eliminated." But she had underestimated both human determination and the effectiveness of their adapted technology. The command deck doors exploded inward, and Colonel Ramirez's team stormed through the breach, quantum disruptors rendering Voidborn weapons useless at close range. Within minutes, the flagship's command center was secured. Karza and her senior officers, surrounded by human soldiers, stood in shocked disbelief. "This is impossible," Karza said, her voice hollow. "No developing world has ever resisted the Empire." Colonel Ramirez approached the Admiral, her weapon trained steadily. "Consider this a first, then. Earth is secured. Your fleet is neutralized. And now you're going to help us send a message." "I will do no such thing," Karza hissed. Ramirez smiled coldly. "We don't need your cooperation, just your command codes." As Ramirez's team secured the prisoners, technical specialists accessed the flagship's communication array. Within the hour, They had control of the Voidborn's superluminal broadcast network, a system that connected all Empire territories across 3 galactic sectors. In the Phoenix Command Center, Maya Chen prepared to address not just Earth, but the entire Voidborn Empire and every subjugated world within it. "We're ready, Madam Secretary," Hayes reported. "Colonel Ramirez has secured the broadcast system. We can transmit to all Voidborn frequencies simultaneously." Maya took a deep breath, straightening her jacket as she stepped before the camera. "Then let's show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity." The broadcast began, reaching every Voidborn vessel, colony, and subjugated world throughout the Empire. Maya's image appeared on countless screens across thousands of star systems. "To all worlds under Voidborn control, this is Secretary General Maya Chen of Earth. Today we have done what the Empire claimed was impossible. We have defeated their harvest fleet and captured their flagship." The camera panned to show Grand Admiral Karza and her officers in custody, then switched to footage of disabled Voidborn vessels being boarded by Earth forces. "But more importantly," Maya continued, "we have accessed the Empire's central database. We now possess evidence of their crimes against countless civilizations, worlds stripped of resources, populations enslaved or exterminated, cultures destroyed in the name of imperial expansion." She gestured, and the broadcast showed images from the Voidborn archives, the systematic exploitation of world after world, the calculated destruction of resistances, the cold efficiency of their harvest operations. This evidence is now being transmitted to every world in the Empire. To the subjugated peoples watching this broadcast, the Voidborn are not invincible. Their technology has weaknesses. Their control can be broken. Earth stands ready to share what we have learned and to support any world that wishes to reclaim its freedom. Maya's voice grew stronger, her eyes flashing with determination. "To the Voidborn leadership, this is humanity's final warning. Withdraw your forces from all occupied worlds. End your harvesting operations. Establish fair and equal relations with other species, or face the consequences of united resistance." The broadcast continued, detailing the technical specifications of Voidborn shield vulnerabilities and instructions for constructing disruptor technology using locally available resources. Across the galaxy, on worlds long since conquered by the Empire, populations watched in stunned silence as hope kindled for the first time in generations. On some planets, resistance movements that had been fighting losing battles for decades suddenly found themselves with the knowledge needed to combat their oppressors effectively. Within the Voidborn Empire itself, planets that had been reluctant allies rather than conquered subjects began questioning their allegiance. Several border worlds immediately declared independence, activating planetary defenses against Imperial vessels in their systems. Back on Earth, in the days following what would become known as the Battle of Terra, humanity began the process of adapting Voidborn technology for peaceful purposes while maintaining vigilant defenses. The captured Voidborn ships provided insights that accelerated Earth's technological development by centuries. 1 month after the battle, representatives from 7 formerly subjugated worlds arrived at Earth in vessels they had claimed from retreating Voidborn forces. They came seeking alliance, bringing knowledge and resources to share with the humans who had shown the galaxy that even the most powerful empire could be defeated by determination, innovation, and courage. In the Phoenix Command Center, now transformed into the headquarters for the newly formed Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds, Maya Chen met with these representatives. "The Voidborn Empire is fracturing," reported Krell, an ambassador from Rachel Prime. 32 worlds have declared independence in the past week alone. Their command structure is in disarray without Admiral Karza. "And the remaining Imperial forces?" Hayes asked. "Retreating to core systems," Krell replied. "For the first time in 8 centuries, the Empire is on the defensive." Maya nodded, taking in this remarkable turn of events. "Then we have a unique opportunity, not just to ensure our own safety, but to establish something better in place of their empire. A true alliance based on mutual respect and cooperation." As the meeting continued, plans were formed for a new interstellar coalition, one where technology would be shared, cultures preserved, and no species would dominate another. Earth, the world that had been targeted for harvesting, would instead become the catalyst for a new era of galactic cooperation.